welcome to this lecture series, which are being held in very trying circumstances. And I am very grateful to all of you that you have always made it a success. Your commitment to Nehru Memorial Museum Library, your commitment to academics, your commitment to higher education shows that it is unflinching. And it's because of your involvement we have been able to organize off and on as many lectures as possible. And I hope that you shall continue to support this endeavor, whether it is online or whether it is physical presence, you shall continue to associate yourself with us. Today, we have a very distinguished speaker, Dr. S.M. Sirajuddin. Dr. S.M. Sirajuddin is a very distinguished person. He has been a Fulbright Fellow in America. He was in Planning Commission. He was in Anthropological Survey of India for a long time. He did his PG from UK. And currently, he is Senior Fellow at Indian Council of Social Science Research attached to Nehru Memorial. And today's topic is development of SC and STs and the impact of legislative measures on atrocities in Odisha state over the last 10 years. So actually this study is confined to over the last 10 years. But rest assured, it's going to excite you, all of you, for one very simple reason. In India, maybe all the problems are temporary, but there is one problem which is permanent, which is the caste system, and which is the issue of the caste. It will remain permanent problem. What is very important is to understand this issue from various perspectives. And I myself, as a senior fellow, is working on caste and Indian politics. And I would like to go back in historical period, how the caste has developed, what stages it has gone through. But that is not the actually topic of today's talk. Our distinguished speaker will be confining to Odisha vis-a-vis various legislations during the last 10 years. So I would not like to take his time on this issue, and I invite the distinguished speaker to please take the mic.
Thank you very much, Professor Makanlal sir, for introducing me and saying some kind words towards me. And good afternoon to all the audience members and distinguished scholars who have taken time to join this presentation. First of all, I would like to thank Nehru Memorial Museum Library for giving me an opportunity to present the findings of my research topic on the impact of legislative measures on atrocities against STs and STs with reference to a few selected states like Andhra Pradesh, Himachal Pradesh, Gujarat, Odisha. And today, I would like to highlight the part of my research findings based on this primary data and secondary data, particularly with reference to during the last 10 years. And this presentation will be focusing mainly on the developmental aspects pertaining to the education, health, economic well-being of the SCs and STs in Odisha, with reference to a few, two particularly, in fact, two districts of the Puri and Khorda districts. And this also the second part of my presentation will deal on the protective constitutional and legislative measures of the development to arrest the crimes and atrocities against STs and SCs with particular reference to the Protection of Civil Rights 1955 Act and Protection of Atrocities Act 1989. So in detail, I will be discussing about the frequency and the types and nature of the crimes committed against SCs and STs, the reasons behind this, and the way forward mechanism. And I would like to just, most of you will be aware of this geographical location and the districts of Odisha, but however, I would like to just show you the Odisha map. This is the Orissa map, and you can see that there are 30 districts here, and it has, as per the 2011 census, there are about 42 million, and the projected as of now it is about 48 million, and the population density of 270 persons per square kilometer, and the urbanization rate is about 17%, and the state is rich in natural resources, island rivers, water bodies, and the famous Chilka Lake. The particular interest of this state is it has the highest number of ST communities, 62 communities, the highest in fact in the whole of India. And then there are about 93 SC communities. Among the ST communities, there are 13 STs which are called as a particularly vulnerable tribal groups, earlier known as a primitive tribal groups. And both the STs and SCs concentration is about 40%, and STs constitute about 23%, and SCs are about 17%. And the Orissa also has the largest, third largest concentration of the tribal population in the countries. And these STs speak about 74 dialects. About 45% of the state geographical area is known as the scheduled area, and which extends to about 12 districts. Mostly it is in the south and the eastern sector districts, and also on the northern sides like Mayurbhanj, Sundargarh, and then this earlier known as the KBK districts, Koraput, and this Rayagada, Malkangiri, Narayanpur, and Kalahandi districts. So now I would like to just highlight what are the actually the STs issues here. The STs are actually governed by the peculiar the administrative structure called this PISA Act, and also by this the TSP, MADA, ITDA administrations, and which are mostly, particularly in the case of this 10 to 12 districts. STs are at one end of the spectrum, they are nomadic and food gatherers, and at the other end of the spectrum, there are agriculturists and horticulturists. SCs are spread all over the state, unlike the STs, but they are concentrated mostly in the districts of Ganjam, Cuttack, Balasore, and Jaipur. Regarding this educational and literacy statistics, if we see, the SC's literacy rate is about 69%, and against the 72% of the state, whereas in the case of the STs, the literacy rate is 52%, and it has increased compared to 2001 census, which is about 7 to 10%. STs and SC SCs and ST development department of the Orissa state is providing scholarship to more than about 20 lakh ST/SC students every year for the pre-metric and post-metric school-going children, and also for the day scholars. ST/SC development department of the state is managing about 1,700 residential educational institutions across the state, and approximately 6,700 hostels are being run by the state, providing residential facility to approximately 6 lakh voters, and mostly belonging to the ST girls. There are various educational developmental schemes of state, center, and private institutions run by the NGOs like Odisha Girls Incentive Program, Special Merit Based Schemes, Urban Hostels for SCs and ST students, etc. Regarding the health status and the statistics, if we see, this is the IMR rate for the Odisha state is, in fact, this is not exclusively for the SCs and STs, it is aggregated at the state level, and then the indicators of the IMR under 5 years mortality rate, and then the immunization, children below the age of 12 to 23 getting immunization, and the stunting rate and wasted underweight. If we see this, these figures, these statistics, they show that they are comparatively better compared to the all India level averages. And in terms of the educational facilities, if we see the peculiar administrative focus which is being given by the SC/ST Development Department, there are about something like 1,731 educational institutions are being run both at the primary, upper primary, higher level, higher post-matric, then at the hostels, and specifically focusing on the ST groups. These are like Ashram schools there are about 705, and the Seva Ashram schools are about 501. And there is also especially for the BEd training school for the SC and STs there. And then in the case of pre-matric students, there are about something like 16 lakh students are being given the pre-matric scholarship. And in the case of the post-matric scholarship, about 4 lakh students are being given the scholarship for enhancing their retention and to arrest the dropout rates. In fact, if we see the dropout rates, these dropout rates are comparatively coming lower over the period of time, but it is still little higher compared to the general category students. And it is about 4.81 in the case of the SCs, for the case of the at the primary level, and in the case of the STs, it is about 6.26, whereas in the case of general population, it is lower as expected, and it is seen in the Indian context also. Whereas in the case of the upper primary level, the dropout rates are also, as in the case of the primary level, they are higher in the case of the STs and SCs compared to the general population in the state. In terms of the economic development, if you see that the HDI index of the Orissa state is about 0.362, which is comparatively lower to the all India level of 0.467 based on the 2011 census. Whereas the recent study of the NITI Aayog, which has done on the Sustainable Development Goals of India baseline report of 2018, it says that 32.59% of the Orissa population is below poverty line. It is just above the Bihar state against the 22% of the national level poverty rate. It is in terms of the net domestic product per capita of the Orissa, it is about 84,854 per annum, and it is seventh place from the bottom level. And of late, it has been seen that the economic development of the Orissa state is rapidly growing during the last 5 to 6 years. This is a very turning point which is taking place in the case of the Orissa. Maybe it is due to the ramp up of the administrative structure which is taking place there. In terms of the asset holding, the report of the NSS report of 571 of the household ownership and operational holdings, it shows that about nearly 78% of the STs and about 92% of the SCs are either landless or marginal. The medium and large category of the households having large land, it is comparatively low to the general population, which is about something like 2%, whereas in the case of the SCs and STs, it is about 1% or less than 1%, particularly so in the case of the SCs. There are various important SCs development schemes which are being implemented in the state for both the in the terms of the pre-matric scholarship, post-matric scholarship, and then at the national scholarship, then particularly for the Pradhan Mantri Adarsh Gram Yojana, which is being given about 21 lakhs for the integrated development of the SC dominated villages. The 10 domains like drinking water, sanitation, education, health, nutrition, social security, rural roads, and housing. And there are also other important schemes like Jagat Jeevan Ram Chhatras Yojana, special central assistance to the scheduled caste subplan. In the case of the scheduled caste subplan, it is mandatory for the state government to earmark about the percentage of the SCs and ST population for their development budget every year. And besides this, the central government also gives the assistance in terms of the special central assistance for the scheduled caste subplan and then the tribal subplan. And then there is also grants are being given to the various voluntary organizations, and then assistance is also being given to the scheduled caste development corporations and finance development corporations. And also there are other institutions like the National Safai Karmachari Finance and Development Corporation, and then the National Commission for Scheduled Castes and Scheduled Tribes, which are having a monitoring and evaluation overlook for the implementation of the various schemes and also for the various crimes and atrocities being committed against these SCs and STs in the state. Likewise, in the case of the STs also, the SC/ST Development Department is implementing various schemes in terms of for educational, health and livelihood programs. And then besides this, about central assistance is also being given for the development, particularly for the particularly vulnerable tribal groups, and for the TriFed, and also for the Finance and Development Corporation. In the case of the 2019-20, a total of about 3,770 crores have been allocated, and it has been spent for the various socio-economic development schemes in the Odisha state. Besides this, there is this Tribal Research Institute is there in the case of Odisha, which is doing research and training, besides imparting the skill development training program to the various tribal groups. There's also monitoring and doing occasional evaluation studies on the various implementing programs, which is on the schemes going on in the Odisha state. Now, I would like to focus the second part of my presentation, that is on these legislations and provisions as a kind of a development for these SCs and STs. As we all know that this Article 17 of the Constitution abolishes untouchability and forbids its practice in any form punishable in accordance with law. Following this, two acts of parliament have been enacted. One is called as the Protection of Civil Rights Act 1955, and the other one is the SCs and STs Prevention of Atrocities Act 1989. And the other articles of the Constitution, like 330, have got given a reservation for the SCs and STs in the Lok Sabha, and Article 332 gives reservation of seats for the SCs and STs in the legislative assemblies. Likewise, there are other articles in the Constitution which gives the provision for the reservation in the case of panchayats, municipalities, and also in the other articles of 15 states and the 16 of states, which gives reservations for the educational and economically backward sections in the case admission to the central government of educational institutions and in public employment, both in the central and state governments. Following this, Article 338 in 1992, two statutory bodies, that is the National Commission for SCs and STs, was established in 2004, and it was bifurcated as a separate commission for STs during 2000. In fact, the combined commission was constituted in 1992, and in 2004, the STs Commission has been exclusively formed to cater to the needs and the special needs of these STs all over the country. And it has got a monitoring and evaluation exercise for the welfare and development of the STs. Now I'm going to focus mostly on this PCR Act 1955 for the SCs and STs and PO Act 1989. This PO Act 1989, after its notification, this has been revised and amended several times during 2011, 2013, 14, 16, and as latest as 2018 by expanding the number of the atrocities, and also it has got provision for the establishment of special district courts, appointment of special public prosecutors, and for establishing legal aid cells for speedier investigation by the high-ranking police officers in time-bound manner, nomination of nodal officers at the state level, district level, and delineation of vulnerable SC and SC areas called as the atrocity-prone areas in different states. Then it has also provision for setting up the monitoring committee at the state and central district level for the SC and ST production cell for the vigilance and monitoring mechanism. Then provision, it has got these acts, and then the amended rules have got the provision for the immediate relief in terms of the cash disbursement, cash or time disbursement to the victims, and then the enhancement of the relief amount and cash and incentives for intercaste marriages, etc. The implementation of PCR Act and PO Act is being at the national level being looked after by and supervised and implemented by the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, and it has a scheme, centrally sponsored scheme, which which gives the financial assistance to the states and UTs, which has to provide about 50% from their state side, and the UT administration gets 100% central assistance. These funds are being utilized for strengthening the administration, enforcement, judicial machinery, awareness generation, relief and rehabilitation of the affected persons and families, and for promoting intercaste marriages. In pursuit of relevant provisions of the PCR Act and PO Act, annual reports are being prepared and they are being laid regularly every year in both the houses of parliament. Responsibility of implementation of the acts and the scheme primarily lies with the states and UT and their subordinate authorities, the police and the executive magistrate. At the central level, this responsibility primarily lies with the MSG, Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, in coordination with the Ministry of Home Affairs, which regularly collects the atrocities and crimes surveys and publishes through the National Crime Record Bureau, and in coordination also with the Ministry of Tribal Affairs, National Commission for Scheduled Castes, and National Commission for Scheduled Tribes through their periodic monitoring and reporting mechanism. In fact, the crimes and atrocities, if we see, there are various types of crimes, but here actually the PCR Act, it is an Untouchability Act which has been abolished, and in fact it is very rare, and we find that it is in the case of particularly in the case of the Odisha state and at all India level. I have given a glance of these things. If you can see that the PCR Act is hardly about, in the case of SCs 4, and in the case of the STs it is about 1. And this is the 2017 census. In fact, this census 2017 National Crime Record Bureau data statistics says it is a combination. It is a piling up of the cases, but in fact, these PCR cases are very, very few. And it's so is the case at the all India level. At the all India level, only about something like 37 cases and 34 cases have been reported. These cases are pending with the police. And whereas the number of cases pending with the courts are a little higher, they are about 606 for the case of SCs and 52 in the case of the STs at the for the PCR cases. Whereas in the case of the production of atrocities acts, they are very high, and they are about something like nearly 1.6 lakhs for the case of SCs. These cases are pending with at the all India level, and whereas in the case of the STs, about 25,000 cases are pending in the courts. Whereas in the case of the SCs and STs, the pending cases with the police are about 16,000 in the case of the SCs, and about 2,000 cases of STs are pending with the police for want of verification, for want of proper witnesses, and for records. These are not being charge sheeted still. I would like to just briefly give a perspective about the funds which are being released at the all India level over the past 5 years, and then on the number of PO cases pending at the all India level, so that we can get a comparative picture at the state and the central level. The center releases about something like 530 crores during the 2019-20, and the atrocities and then the dependents who are provided are about 63,000 in the 2019, and persons provided incentives for intercaste marriages are about 17,951. And then the PO cases registered in the year 2019 are 54,000, and it is surprising to see that the cases pending in the courts at the end of the year 2019-20 are nearly 191,000. That is about 93% of the cases which have been registered are being pending in the courts. This is I would like to see a glance of these SCs and STs atrocities in the case of the state over the last 5 years. If we see that the number of cases registered have declined, in fact, this is a very paradoxical situation, whereas in the case of the all India level, they are a little bit increasing. If you see previous one, they have increased even the pending cases like 1,25,000, it has increased to 1,91,000. Whereas in the case of the Odisha state, the SCs registered cases were 2,305 in the 2015, and they have reduced to 1,886 during 2019. Whereas in the case of the STs, they were about 1,387, and they have reduced to 576. Likewise, the charge sheets they are roughly more or less at the same level, about 95 to 97%. But the conviction rate is hardly about 3 to 4% in the case of the SCs, and it is about 3 to 5% in the case of the STs. And the intercaste marriages in Odisha state has increased from 558 during 2015 to 771. The Odisha state scenario also indicates that none of the ST cases have been reported for the PCR Act during the 12th plan period, that is during 2012 to 17. And the crimes and atrocities registered, including the IPC crimes, including PCR Act and PO Act against SCs and the STs, charge sheet rate by the police and conviction rate in the courts during the years 2015 to 19 reveals that the number of registered cases for SCs and STs during this period are about 2,305 in 2015 and 1,387 respectively, and there is a declining trend during these last 5 years. However, the declining trend doesn't indicate a clear pattern, but most of the cases of the tribes are presented are all types of crimes, and PCR related cases are very few, and in fact PO cases are comparatively little higher. That is, PCR cases are these for untouchability cases. They are practically nil, and at the all India level also they are lowering down. About 81% in 2015 and 97% SC cases in 2019 were charge sheeted by the police, whereas this number is higher in the case of the ST victims. Though more than 85% of the cases are being charge sheeted, but the conviction rate in the courts are only about 3 to 4%, which I have highlighted earlier. And this indicating that the administrative procedural inadequacies, follow-up, witness and slow courts disposal mechanism in Odisha state. You see, I would like to, we have seen into what are the implementing mechanism which is being followed in the case of the Odisha state. If we see that Odisha state has set up about 319 legal aid cells at the headquarters of the 30 districts, And then the cash incentives for the intercaste marriages has increased from 1 lakh to 2 lakh 50,000 from 2017 onwards. There are about 105 designated courts in the state, and 3 exclusive special courts have been established in the districts of Balasore, Balangir, and Cuttack for speedy trial of SC/ST POI cases. And 43 special public prosecutors have been appointed to conduct cases of atrocities against SCs and STs. A state level vigilance monitoring committee has been established at the chairmanship of the chief minister level. At the state level, there is also a state SC welfare board. There is also district and block level review meetings are taking place. And then there are also special legal cells created for the public relations, and the IT department has set up a separate helpline called for 24 hours called as a Sanjog, and Sanjog helpline, which is a designated number under the public awareness generation program for redressal of grievances for the implementation of PCR and POI Act. The state government has identified about 16 districts, and out of the 30 districts in the state as a atrocity prone areas and districts, and with the in charge making additional district magistrate as the in charge of the district, and also as a special officer for this to look after this as a monitoring and monitoring mechanism, and to file regular reports at the state level. The registered cases have declined, and about though more than 85% of the cases are being charge sheeted, the conviction rate is very low, indicating the administrative procedural inadequacies, follow-up witness, and slow court mechanism in the state, which which I have highlighted also earlier. Now, for the primary level data, what we have seen is in the case of, we have selected 2 districts, that is the Puri district and Khodda district. Puri district has got a population of about 17 lakhs with a sex ratio of 96%, and Khodda district has got it has got a population of 2.3 lakhs with 925 as the sex ratio, and the district has got 88 districts as the atrocity prone areas. In crimes against in Puri and Khodda districts more or less reflects the same scenario as we have seen in the case of the Odisha state. I would like to just pass on due to the time shortage, and I would like to highlight that about 18 lakh rupees compensation has paid to the victims and beneficiary families in Puri district, and about 4.5 lakhs in the case of Khodda district SC victims during the last 3 years. And the victims and the beneficiaries profile shows that most of them are about 32% of them are 35% of them are illiterate in the case of the both the districts. And in terms of the livelihood pattern, most of them are the agriculture operations or agricultural laborers. The victims' profiles indicates that they are mostly in the agriculture sector related operations, and some of them are owning petty shops and small time jobs. They are either mostly related to the either to the farm sector or to the agricultural operations. And the victims' families data indicate that the average family size is about 6.4, and most of these victims' families are the victims which have been observed are mostly related to the at the individual level, and most about 12% of the cases are of the rape, and 80% of the cases are of types of hurt, insult, injury, obstructions in the agricultural field operations. And majority of the crimes of both the districts are of this type, and more than 46% of the cases and 48% in the case of the Puri district and of Khodda and Puri districts took place in the public places, either at the roadside or at the workplace. In the case of the settled cases, a compensation about have been paid to about 26% in the case of Khordha district beneficiaries and about 28% in the case of Puri district. About 66% of the victims in Khordha and 67% to Puri district report that they got the help of the inspector level police for the investigation and to help in the speedy redressal mechanism. What is the way forward mechanism? The crimes and atrocities of the SCs and STs indicates that there is a declining trend in the case of the state, whereas at the national level there is a slightly higher rates, both in the case of the POA cases, protection of atrocity cases, and all types of nature of the crimes and atrocities. And the CSS funds which have been given to by the central government, they are being increasing from year on year for the administrative functions of the legal aid and relief to the victims, and to revamp the administrative structure and to curtail the crimes. SCs and STs, police department should take the active interest in filing the cases immediately, remove the false cases, quick investigation and to charge sheet it, and establishment of the fast track courts, and to in a time bound disposal manner of the cases which are being brought to them. Then providing protection to the witnesses and giving them wages and transport to the victims and to the witnesses, and removing political interference and provision of private advocates and relief amount immediately. Then training of the PRIs, updating the computerization of land records, as most of the cases are related to the agricultural and grazing activities. Then sensitization of the officials dealing with the SCS and STs welfare development, having separate SC/ST commission at the state level, that is as a branch of the national level SC/ST commission at the state level, and then involving the NGOs in the field for social service for speed up to the rendering the relief and justice to the victims and curtailment of crimes and atrocities towards and STs. These are some of the mechanisms which we can bring in. Then it will speed up the mechanism for the conviction and for curtailment of the crimes and atrocities. I think I have covered a broad spectrum of the development and then the crimes and atrocities in Odisha state, and then I will be happy to take the feedback, and if there are any questions, I will be happy to answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sirajuddin, for a very comprehensive lecture on the present state of situation in Odisha. And you backed up all the presentation with huge amount of data. Can we now invite, are there some people still online? Subhash, yes, are there some people online?
Yes, sir.
Well, I invite the participant to ask the question to Dr. Sirajuddin. My only request would be that be it a question and not a parallel lecture, please. So it's open if anybody.
Namaskar, sir.
Please identify yourself first, that who you are and where from is speaking, and then question.
Yes, sir. May I continue?
Yes, go ahead, please.
My name is Brij Mohan, sir, and I'm a faculty in the Department of Sociology, University of Delhi, Kamala Nehru College, sir.
Perfect.
Thank you so much, sir, for this wonderful lecture. I have been for quite some time thinking about this particular aspect which you just discussed, that of atrocity on Dalit community, scheduled castes. Despite the fact that I am a teacher and teachers are expected to be a little mature, I do not know, I mean, why I could not see this particular phenomena with that kind of maturity. I don't know why. Maybe because of my lack of knowledge. Uh, I I at times get very emotionally moved by uh, such acts whenever I read anything in the newspaper or whenever I
What
watch.
is your question?
Yes,
My very humble request was, be it a question and not a parallel reaction. So what is the question? May I request you, please?
yes, sir. I'm sorry, sir. Uh, Sir, I only wanted a few words from sir that we have all these mechanisms, right from the time we got independence. At formal level, we have the best mechanisms, I can say. I mean, the best constitution, the best preamble,
What is
everything.
your question? May you please come to the question so that we can others also get a chance to ask. Please, what is your question?
Yeah, I mean, despite so many years of negotiation with administration, despite so much of representation of the scheduled caste community, despite these acts are not witnessing any slowing down or they are not coming to a halt. I just seek sir's opinion on this.
Fair enough.
Few words. I'm
Okay,
sorry for the long question, sir. Sorry.
okay, thank you very much, Dr. Brij Mohan, for raising this issue. You see, in my presentation, I have shown that, in fact, you are partly correct, that, the cases of PCR and PO, not PCR, PCR cases are very minimal, POA cases are increasing. In fact, the POA cases are also part of the crimes and atrocities of overall. In that one also, POA cases, there are government of India by the various amendments has identified about something like 42 cases of atrocities, and they are increasing at the all India level. And it's due to, in one way or other way, it is either in a direct or indirect way, it is in a subtle form, but whereas in the case of the urban level it is little lower, but whereas in the case of the rural areas they are higher. At the all India level picture, if we see, I have shown in my earlier presentation, they have increased in fact, and over the period of time. But in the case of the Odisha state, somehow they are in declining. So it is area specific, and we cannot generalize it. At all India level, we can generalize it, but it is local area specific wise. In some spaces, in some areas, they are declining. At the all India level, if you aggregate it, they are increasing. In that sense, you are partly correct. But in the case of the Odisha state, somehow paradoxically, they have shown a decreasing trend. So the reason for this, and then the remedial mechanism for this one is revamping the administrative mechanism, and there are a lot of provisions which have been given for the administration backup, like establishment of the legal cells, then giving the special establishment of special courts, and the basic question comes for these witnesses, and it is very difficult to prove these type of cases, and these the courts, in the courts the lot of cases are languishing and they are pending for a long time and they are piling up.
Yes, any next, please? Anyone else, please? कितने लोग हैं? हाँ? 15 लोग, पता नहीं कोई हाथ नहीं उठा रहा है क्या? आवाज जा रही है कि नहीं? No other question? But then I would request all of you to stay on for a few minutes more and suffer me. I'm not an anthropologist, I'm not a statistician, and often I get very fidgety, very uncomfortable with a lot of statistics. That's my nature. That's probably history is all about. What is very important to know is, as a historian, I have always been very interested. Condition in which we are today are condition in which we were left in 1947. That needs a little more deep probing. We talk about SC/ST, we talk about atrocities, we talk about education problem, we talk about the economic problem, which has besieged us like anything, like no other country. But then, for me, a issue comes up where we were and where we have reached. And it has to be done academically on the basis of research, on the basis of data, and not on the basis of presumption or love and affection. I always think in terms of one thing I have always been interested, that was education. And when British left, India was barely 12-13% educated, meaning thereby 86-87% people were uneducated. Was this the case always? Have a look at the British survey that were conducted between 1804 to 1840, before the implementation of British thing, Macaulay's education policy. British carried out a detailed survey of Indian education in India, and these survey reports are available, printed now, Adams report, Debona's One Teacher, One School, and so on. They are all printed available. And original data has been published. It shocked me. Dharpal has written a book, Beautiful Tree, summarized the whole thing. It shocked me that in Bombay Presidency, in Madras Presidency, Calcutta Presidency, Bihar and all that, 84% of people were educated. Education was free. This is all available in data. And of that 100% of the people going 84%, more than 80%, 75% were people from scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, and so-called backward caste. That's the question. Anybody desirous of education was to be educated. And that is why when Europe was having an education of 8 to 12%, Britain was 8% in the 19th century early. India was 84-85%. I am talking about the British data, not any other data. How did a country where British took 86-87% of educated people and they leave 12%, 13% educated? This is the question to be asked. And you know what happens? In 1834, Macaulay Minutes, you read, all the schools, all the colleges, all this, they were all funded by kings, rulers, and the society. Children have, our families have nothing to pay. If you are desirous of going to school, you have to be educated. It was society. Now, Macaulay's policy reversed it. It stopped the payment for schools and it says, pay and then get educated, like today. If you want to go to school, you have to pay a fee, which was not there before 1834. So in one stroke, you put out 85% of the population out of the school. 90% of the population went out of the school because they had no money. And therefore, British left an uneducated India. Took over educated India. Similarly, issue is, in my eyes, when we talk in terms of scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, we have to go back a little bit further. What was the situation pre-British period? Pre-British period, I have not read any of the major famine where people died because of lack of food. Because it was the society's always dictum, how can you sleep when neighbor is hungry? आप कैसे सोएंगे अगर आपका पड़ोसी भूखा मर रहा है? So question is, when did all these economic changes begin? Because in India, before the arrival of Mughals, before the implementation of Zamindari system, land belonged to tillers. The one who was tilling the land, irrespective which caste he belongs to, land belonged to him. Because in Indian system, land did not belong to king or god, it belonged to tiller. We are scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, and so on. But with the implementation of Mansabdari, land was taken away and re-allotted to other people, those who served the government. And when British came, Zamindari was included. The entire resettlement was done where land was taken away. So my request to all of you who are young researchers, go back a little bit further, try to find out these are horrible conditions we are living today. whether it is scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, and you don't think you Brahman and Kshatriya and Kaistas don't have poor people? You have to go to villages to see their horrible conditions. We are living in appalling condition, but what is very important is let us go back a little bit deeper to find out the root cause. And one of the sources should be introduction to census report right from 1871 till 1961. 100 years. Have a look at it. I mean, with these words, I thank you very much, Professor Sirajuddin Sahab, for a wonderful lecture. And I hope that some of younger colleagues would be taking a lead from you and maybe looking into it a deeper. Thank you very much again.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to all the participants who have taken time.